Through with the Flock of Doom, and Wiston's Wild Form, give him some durability. I got 2 Treekin. I got the Tree Man, the Branch Wraith, and some Dryads. The Branch Wraith only has Earth Blood. 2 Deep Blue Scouts, and I got some Spears. And I do have an Eagle, which for this battle I wanted to show off a little bit of that Eagle because I thought it was garbage, but I ended up using it all right. And a few other battles I used it the same way. And then I have some Wildwood Riders with shields in the back. Over here you can see my opponent's got some Squig Hoppers sneaking around on the sides. He's got some Night Goblins for an ambush, and then down here he's got his main force, the Arachnoid Queen, a front line of Goblins, or just Night Goblins, some regular Goblins, and then a Goblin Big Boss, a Night Goblin Shaman, and some Night Goblin War Boss. That's the word I'm looking for. So my thoughts for this army was to have a little Death Star here, so that with the healing you can get the Tree Men and all the Treekin and Dirt Through, and anything that bobs up we can just Flock of Doom kind of whittle it away. Over here, I just got the Spearmen to kind of block off any cav that might be coming, and just use the Deep Blue Scouts to go ahead and pin them down. And then I'm just kind of waiting for a good moment to send in an ambush, because right now I couldn't really see what my opponent had. You can still see the invisibility. Well, until now they're starting to go off. So one of the flaws I have with this list is this Goblin Firing Squad, which everyone kind of underestimates, but it's actually very powerful. So everything kind of moves, and I just give it a... I wasn't up on my game for the charges, and he just comes in here and just pins me down with the his Goblin Big Boss, and then everything starts coming here. But you can see that kind of broke up my charge, and I was not up on my micro game. So my Dryads are already at half life, so you can see they're kind of struggling. I send my Deep Blue Scouts over here, and I have them facing the other way, because when they start running, I don't have to worry about them going. So my opponent, well, good on him, kind of pins me in. And it looks like my sound is kind of acting up again. I don't know why it does that. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. So let's get back into it. So you can see his firing squad. It is really starting to work. Just having to work me away, work me down, kind of harass me. And then my Death Star kind of failed because notice that they're all blobbed up here. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, about 7 Treekin not engaged. And kind of hurt me. So I sent the Wild Riders in to kind of help me out. So they were able to kind of push on these Night Goblins, but they did get swamped by the Squig Hoppers, which will actually end up performing pretty great in this setup. So now I send in the Wild Riders to really start pushing through. So one thing I did, I wasn't really showing it, but this Eagle was able to come in and kind of do some work. He only got 16 kills, but for a little hit and run for about 5 seconds, that's decent. And then I'm going to send him over, and I just keep popping him in and out, just preventing his ability to shoot. But later, he is going to get a hold of this Night Goblin Shaman and put some real work into it. My opponent's back here. It looks like he's microing all his stuff over here, and now he's going to start pushing all his forces in. And these 3 spears, now that they're locked up, are just not going to be able to really support these Deep Blue Scouts, and they're just not getting the kills that I need to for being how much they cost. And then over here you can see the Squig Hoppers charging to the back there, and they're already starting to chew apart my my spears. I might do some testing on my own just to see how effective these Squig Hoppers are just against these lightly armored troops. My Branch Wraith did get kind of pulled off in a way, so what I really should have done is pulled off the Treeman to go fight the Arachnoid Spider and get to keep pushing the Treekin into the fight with the Goblins. But instead, I was kind of lazy and left him in the fight with this the Arachnoid, and it's just eating away. You see it's got 4 kills and all been Treekin, when really those Treekin need to be in this fight or this fight. So I do kind of wake back up and start pushing again. Dirthu is kind of beating the snot out of this Goblin War Boss, but really being underutilized. And then over here, the Great Eagle's doing a good job. That Fear is really pushing off the Archer bow fire. So it's actually a lot closer fight than I thought it was going to be. I thought it was just going to be very one-sided, but good job of my opponent for just kind of whittling me down and just pushing off any of the weak with his Squig Hoppers. And he does manage to push off all of my, what's the one I'm looking for? Eternal Guard. And then over here, my Eagle is starting to do some decent work, but it's all been Goblins, but it's mostly been used to kind of shut down that Goblin fire line. As you can see earlier in the match, it was really pushing me down, and it does have some nice animations. One thing I will note is I have used the Great Eagle, and let's take a look at its stats real quick. So it is poisoned, but that's okay. So it does have a damage, I think it's 350 or 400, and it has a high speed of 110 when it's not poisoned. And one thing it does do very well is it takes off units that have low armor. So I've used it in a few games with decent success, and anytime there's a Brace Shaman or a Goblin or any kind of spellcaster that's isolated, this Great Eagle does a great job chasing it down. You don't necessarily want to use it against, say, high armor factions like Chaos, but against Greenskins and some Empire, it definitely has some utilities I never really thought about. So now my line is really starting to collapse, and my mismanaging this kind of focus point here was just blopping up. I wasn't able to do the damage I needed to do, and not only now are my tree king getting into the kind of combat that you want to get in, and my tree, this not my tree men not really being able to do the damage I hoped they would have, because I was bunched up when I needed to have a long kind of a braced line to really do the damage I needed to do. So as you can see, everything's going downhill. Well played by the Goblin player. I think his name's Strawberry Fields. We're going to take a little look at the breakdown of that battle. And they performed a lot better than I thought they did. So let's take a look here. Normally I go wider with Wood Elves. I think I'm one of my better factions, but I do terrible with the trees. So let's take a look at how we did here. So Wild Riders doing a great job. That's kind of coming in, harassing, just taking them apart. However, they did kind of fall to the Squid Hoppers. The Treemen and Treekin blobbed up too much, and they weren't really able to get the damage in. And you can see that these Dryads just got utterly destroyed by the Archer fire from my mismanagement. Strawberry Fields over here, overall, kind of a mixed performance. Like I said, I blobbed up, which is shut down my heavy AP game. I just lost the leadership, and he was able to focus Dalderthu. So that was really mismanagement on my part, and my opponent was able to capitalize. So we're going to cut out here. We're going to jump into game 2 and talk a little bit about that build and what I did. All right, and we're back. So I made a couple adjustments. As you can see here, let's go ahead and slow it down. It's a short fight. I have 3 units of Treekin this time. I dropped a Great Eagle. Although the next battle I play against the Beastman, I do bring it back, so I do want to have another little discussion about it. Got Durthu and another Treeman in the Branch Wraith again, and that kind of Eternal Guard just to hold back any kind of boars that will be coming. And my opponent brings a very kind of similar army. Over here, I have a unit of Wild Riders. And what I like to do with my Wild Riders is I keep them in the back and wait for my opponent to overextend, and then I'll dash them out. And then I have a unit of Glade Guard with Hagbang Tips just to kind of pick away and just harass. And then he comes out here hot and heavy with Exile. I guess he didn't see my scouts until it was too late. And you see, Exile only has 70 armor when he's on Skull Mancha. And that's really just going to kind of hold him down. So we can hit play as it goes. He has some Savage Orcs, some Orc Boys upgraded to silver. Unit of 5 Night Goblins with silver. And then he has these 4 units of Boar Boys, which are just regular Boar Boys. Boar Boys. And then some more Orc Boys. And then 2, what is these? Big Goblin Big Bosses. So he comes in and he drops the Purple Sun. I give anyone who drops the Purple Sun credit. But what I did here is I took my Swift Silver Shards, I took them off skirmish mode, and I just kind of path them to go back behind my line. And you can see they have already shredded this Savage Orc unit. So you can see what their kills are. What, 12 and where's the other one? I guess it's 12 and 13. All right, so they're the same. I was just overlooking. So like I said, I brought those Wild Riders in, hit, and kind of bob out. And so now what I'm doing is I saw the ambush over here. I don't know, not over here. I see the Boar Boys coming, thinking they're big ones. Throw my Eternal Guard over here just to block them off. And then I have the other unit here blocking off, and I'm just kind of providing support fire. And then in the center here, I'm just popping healing, and these, what is these, Boar Boys and just regular boys are just not going to want any of this heavy armor, because you can see the tree can have heavy armor, plus all of them are tree spirits, so they ignore 20% of damage. Azog comes down here, and this is actually not terrible. If he was getting near Durthu, I think that would be a bad choice, but he's going to put some hurt on these treekin, plus he can start buffing everything over here. So I sent my Wild Riders in to try to get a quick little charge, not realizing just how many goblins were over here. But you can see they racked up 65 kills already. Over here, I'm just sticking and moving. So I moved them up here because I saw the goblin ambush coming. And so now I'm just trying to swing my guys up and around. You can see my dirty little lines. And I'm spinning up and around just to provide support into this fight here. My spear is going to do okay because the Orc Boys aren't the great. They're decent on the charge. But my Eternal Guard with the 43 melee defense is really going to be able to hold out for a while, as the rest of my forces kind of just concentrate what's here and start pushing up and away. Now, good on my opponent. This is kind of what he wants with his Goblin Big Boss, to stick on Durthu. But he really needs to get that Orc Shaman out of there, because you can see Durthu's just going to start putting the hurt on him. So over here, I was able to finally get my Oh, the big old foot of Gork there. You can see it wrecks my Eternal Guard completely. Although not doing terrible much to the tree camp. Probably maybe because it just wasn't on the center. The center was probably right there. He is blobbed up, so I'm just popping the Flock of Doom just to kind of whittle him away, lower that morale. He keeps coming out at me over here, and this is taking a lot of my micro because I don't want to leave them skirmish. Otherwise, they'll go where they don't want them to. And I have to take them off fire at will. Otherwise, I'll be shooting these Night Goblins instead of the Boar Boys. But I keep moving around and sticking, and we're going to be okay. Over here, my tree are finally starting to rally, and my Wild Riders have been routed off by just the sheer number or volume of Goblins that took him down. I'm trying to get Darthu out of there just because I don't want him dealing with all this. I do get, what is it? Not Arrow of the Kurnos. It'll come to me later. His little special ability that shoots arrows. But over here, you can see that the Treekin are doing exactly what I want them to, is just hold them steady while the Wild Riders and these Deep Wave Scouts can get some work done. So they're at 102 kills, 60 kills, 39. So we'll check up on them in a few seconds. Also, anything he has that comes over here, that's just going to get completely shut down. So he's at 20 models, one volley down to 16 models, second volley. Only about 14, but they're so tattered that I don't think it's going to make any difference. Azog's over here getting some good work done on the tree kid. And like I said, this is exactly where he wants to be. He doesn't want to be anywhere near Darthu or this other treeman. This one racking up 77 kills, and this is doing much better than the other battle I had. The first battle where I was just so clumped in together that I wasn't able to really get any work done. But over here, you can see that this is the exact engagement that this tree can want. A bunch of low armor creatures that just kind of scurry up to him. And he's just going to completely do the damage. I didn't realize this until it was too late, but the tree men don't really do that much armor piercing comparative to other stats. I think without the poison, he does like 100. So I kept trying to send them in against heavy armored units, but that's just not where you want to spend the tree men. So keep that in mind for the future engagements. So let's see how we've done over here with our kills. So they're up to 57, so I think it's about 9 kills, 82 and 116. They are being harassed by the boars, but since I keep managing them myself and splitting them off in different directions, I'm not really having to worry too much about overlapping fire, and that's going to be all she wrote. So let's take a look breakdown and see how we performed, what did well, what didn't. I'll start with my opponent. I think upgrading units is almost completely worthless, but that's just my opinion. I'm not the greatest player. The only time I don't think it's worthless is when you upgrade ranged units, because when you upgrade a ranged unit, it increases their accuracy, and that just means you're going to have more connections per shot. If he dropped maybe 3 of these and grabbed Orc Biggins, or even if these were Orc Biggins, I think it would have been completely different. So if he dropped all this, dropped the Savage Orcs, he probably could have gotten 5 Orc Biggins, and everything else I think is okay. I don't disagree with any of his other choices, although it's I don't know why you would take an Orc Shaman if you already have Azog the Slaughterer. Over here on my side, Darthu doing okay. Mostly he beat up the heroes. This treeman is doing a great job. I think he held down like 4 or 5 units. And then the Deep Whip Scouts being a great performance there. And then a kind of okay performance out of the Treekin. So let's go look at the Beastmen, and we'll talk about some pros and cons of that matchup. All right, and here we're here at Game 3. So let's go over my opponent's list, since my list is very similar because I was trying to stick with the theme. But over here, let's start with this because I do have the Clay Riders and the Wild Riders. And he has Centaur with great weapons and some Poison Warhounds. My Wild Riders are still hidden. And so he's actually faster than my Glade Riders. And normally I don't really concern about it, but since he has 2 units on my one of the units is going to be able to get through. Normally neither one will be able to catch because of the poison, and that's why I like to use it. Over there, he has the same thing on the other flank. He has a front line of just Gorehers with shields, 2 Bestigors, 2 Gore Bulls, just a regular Beast Lord who looks like he has 2 potions, and he does have the Brace Shaman of Death with Spirit Leech and Fate of Buna. And my thinking was, well, I got the Dryads, they'll go in, they'll be able to beat up any kind of Gores that he has or Ungores. The Spears will be able to fight off any kind of Minotaurs or Gore Bulls he has, and then I have some Azurai Spears for the same purpose, and then the same kind of tree. And then I have the Great Eagle because I figured, oh, let's keep trying this out. He has Fear, and maybe I'll be able to pick off some of the weak units. So it ended up being a very close game. I don't want to give it away till the end. So as you can see, we're starting to pick out each other here. I really didn't want this engagement, so I'm trying to pull my troops back. And then I'm going to try to use the Azurai Spears as kind of a pivot. So anytime he chases in, I can get those Azurai Spears up and in there. So now we're going for the engagement here. I went ahead and sent the Dryads in. So let's see how they actually perform versus, say, non-goblin firing squads. So I do have my glaive riders up and close, and I'm going to keep pushing them in and out. I do have him off skirmish mode, which is my mistake, so I do manage to get away. He hits him with the Faded Unit, which is unusual. All right, so we got in here. We're up close now, and the Dryads got 4 kills to the Gorehers 12, so it looks like the Dryads are not going to be able to make that exchange. I did play a few of the games versus Empire, and they did very well versus Empire, and that might just be where they have a home, just fighting that battle. So he does come through and charge here, so this is a good engagement for me. But what I didn't know is he sent everything after that branch race, so it's very good on my opponent. So he's immediately trying to shut down my healing as he comes in there, because I was thinking he was making a poor decision. I also thought my branch race was over here and not back here in the back line. So I send in all my spear troops to try to save my branch life, but it's going to be a little too late. And then you can see over here, which you kind of miss, is this Great Eagle came down and got the Death Shaman down to half. So you're going to see I'm going to turn back around. I'm going to start putting some more work on that Death Shaman. So the Glade Guard is heading back, just picking away. Unfortunately, they're shooting someone way back here. I'm not sure why. Otherwise, because I had 95 speed to his 90 or 89 speed, I should have been able to get away. So over here, you can see I've sent my Eagle back over here, just shutting down that Brave Shaman completely. So I think he has a home and picking off these kind of isolated characters. Over here, you can see my Wild Riders just coming in and putting some good hurt. However, these Bestigors are starting to turn around and do some damage. So I go ahead and pull them out, try to get some cycle charging done. Over here, because of his cycle charging, I wasn't really able to focus down his Gorbals as well as I would have hoped. And his Beast Lord was able to put a real hurt on my War Dancers and Eternal Guard. So I just sending them in there trying to keep things off. And this right here is actually where I realized that the Treeman doesn't really have much armor piercing, because while he does 500 damage, let's see how he does here. 500 damage. Nope, that's the Bestigor. So he does 500 damage, but only 100 of it's armor piercing, and he's just not getting the kills I would have liked against these Bestigors. And the Bestigors are going to start putting a real hurt, especially now that my opponent has taken away my ability to heal myself. So he's out here. He's winning the cav engagements. Maybe it's because some poor micro on my part. I was really confused how he caught me, but it is what it is. So Darthu is able to put down the hurt on this Gorbal, and then I got the, these Eternal Guard trying to work down this other one. But he has so much armor piercing there, he's able to really get some hurt put in. And now I have my Eagle down here chasing off this Brave Shaman, so he's doing a good job paying for himself just to be able to shut down that Brave Shaman. But I'm going to start sending him back, I'm thinking, and I thought incorrectly, that he's going to be low enough to not return to this battlefield, and that's just going to be too much. So now here's the problem that I ran into, and I think this is the turning point in the battle. And after this, you're going to see how it pivots to his favor. As my forces are kind of split, he's able to take everything he has and throw it against my Treekin and my Treeman, while Darthu's over here by himself, just being held up by this kind of Scuts units. And there's really nothing I can do about it. So I'm trying to pull everything back. Had Darthu been over here, I think I would have been able to hold out. And I also made the mistake here of sending that Great Eagle in, because you see the Great Eagle, as soon as he gets into hand-to-hand with these Centaurs and other things, he's just taking the punishment that he's not made to take. So this is kind of where I learned that I should have used the Meltware. I should have kept the Great Eagle circling and then either picked off this Gorbal that has low life or picked off this Brave Shaman completely. Or even just use it for cycle charging, because over here would have been a good option. Just hit in here, cause the fear, pull back, hit in, pull back. You can see my Treeman is running off. It's only 73 kills when he just could not do the damage that needed to be done against the Bestigors, who do have 100 armor. So now I'm circling around with the Eagle, realizing what I should have done with it earlier, trying to figure out a good home for it, but wisely my opponent has focused all his troops here, and I should have just had the Eagle just hovering around here, because I think Darthu would have been able just to muscle his way through with all these collapses. So I just kind of keeping threats here. I'm not sure why my opponent didn't send his hounds over there. But like I said, this is where I made a mistake. I should have just stayed up in the air, just threatening. And as you can see, that Eagle goes, and the balance of power just completely collapses with me. I should have just stayed there, tying up his resources, But the reason I attacked, and I think it was a bad choice in hindsight, was that Bray Shaman was starting to cast things like Spirit Leech, and there's just I didn't have any answers, and he spent the entire battle not casting spells, so he probably had at least 30 in there, and that's going to be all she wrote. So let me know what you think. Give me some comments or suggestions, and we can work something out, and maybe I'll take a little look elsewhere. So let's take a look at my side first. So the Bray Shaman, the Radiant only got 1 kill that is on that Bray Shaman, so I think he has a purpose now that I know better how to use it. The Treeman, 75 kills is not bad, but if you consider I could have gotten like 2 groups of War Dancers and just used them to hold, I think it would have probably worked better if I just used them to hold or just even got the Wild Riders in there. Mixed performance out of my Eternal Guard. I think I might have mismanaged them because I should have been quicker on the draw for taking on the Centaurs. And I left that branch rate overexposed, and it just got the beatdown put on by the Scorbulls. They're doing a great job as always. And at Dryads, the only time I've ever had them be any use is against Empire. So, take that into consideration. They just mop up those cheap, what are those? Kind of just filler units like Spearmen. Over here on Proxide, well played on his. The Bestigor is doing a great job just ripping down the Treekin. The mixed performance out of the Goreherds. And the Centaurs ended up paying pretty well for themselves once they were able to get a hold of some of my bigger units. So overall, I like his list. I think it's done pretty well. But that's all. I hope you guys have a great day. Bye.